Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra, a 33-year-old marketing executive at Thompson & Partners. Today, I want to share how I escaped my toxic in-laws and rebuilt my life. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for the ending. 2 years ago, I thought I found my fairy tale. I met Jack Bennett at the annual Children's Hospital Charity Gala. Charming, successful, and seemingly aligned with my values, Jack swept me off my feet. Our whirlwind romance was a dream. Fancy dinners, surprise weekend getaways, and within 6 months, we were married. "You're exactly what this family needs, dear," his mother, Linda, gushed during my first dinner with the Bennetts. Someone bright and modern to shake things up. She welcomed me warmly, offering advice on family dynamics and always wearing a pleasant smile. But then there was Robert Bennett, Jack's father, a wealthy real estate mogul who ran his family like one of his businesses. From the start, his views were clear. "A working wife in our family?" he scoffed during our first meeting. "Jack, shouldn't you be making enough to support her?" "Dad, times have changed," Jack defended, though his voice wavered. "Sandra's career is important to her." Jack's sister Sarah and her husband Tom tried to warn me during our engagement party. "Sandra, you seem great, but you need to know what you're getting into," Sarah whispered. "Dad's controlling, especially with money." "He almost sabotaged my startup," Tom added. "Thought it would take too much attention away from the family business." I dismissed their concerns. I had my own life, my own career, and my best friends, Emma and David, who kept me grounded. "Girl, your father-in-law gives me the creeps," Emma said one day over sushi. "The way he grilled you about your Nordstrom purchases at dinner? Red flag." "He's just showing interest," I replied, though I was starting to see those red flags myself. Weekly dinners at the Bennett mansion became a battleground. Robert would make pointed comments about proper wives and managing households full-time. "By the way, Sandra, I noticed you bought a new car," he announced one evening. "Don't you think that's a bit extravagant for someone in your position?" "Do you mean my position as a senior marketing executive or as your daughter-in-law?" I shot back. Jack, as usual, avoided eye contact, focusing intently on his mashed potatoes. Linda would try to mediate, her smile strained as she glanced at Robert for approval before speaking. "We're just looking out for your best interests," Robert would say, his smile never reaching his eyes. After these dinners, Jack and I would drive home in silence. "He means well," Jack would finally murmur. "That's just how Dad shows he cares." But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd married into something far more complicated than I'd imagined. It all came to a head during a family dinner last month. I had just received a major promotion, and Linda insisted on celebrating with my favorite lasagna, despite Robert's disapproval. "I suppose even little achievements deserve recognition," Robert sneered, pushing his plate away. "Though real success comes from building something lasting, like my empire." "My marketing campaign increased client revenue by 40%, I countered. "That seems pretty lasting to me." His face turned red. In one swift motion, he swept his plate off the table, sending lasagna splattering across the expensive dining room floor. "Well, since you're so capable at work," he growled, "why don't you show us how capable you are at cleaning? That's what real wives do." I sat frozen, stunned. Jack just gripped his fork, knuckles white. "Jack," I whispered, pleading. Maybe just help clean up," he muttered. "You know how Dad gets." That night, Linda called me in tears. "I'm so sorry, dear," she sobbed. He's not usually like this." "Actually, he is," Sarah interrupted during our emergency coffee meetup the next morning. Her voice was sharp, her expression grim. "Remember my first husband? Dad basically orchestrated our divorce because he didn't fit the Bennett image. And that's not even the worst part." She pulled out her phone, scrolling quickly. "Tom found something in the company records," she said, pushing the screen toward me. "Dad's been moving money around, including from your joint accounts with Jack." My hands shook as I opened my banking app. Sure enough, large sums had been withdrawn and invested in Robert's projects, all authorized by Jack. "Why did you tell me?" I confronted Jack that evening, holding out the evidence. "Dad knows what he's doing with money," Jack said defensively. "He's just protecting our future by stealing from us." "It's not stealing if it's family," he replied, parroting his father's words like a dutiful son. The next blow came from Emma at work. "Sandra, you need to see this," she said, pulling me into a conference room. She showed me an email thread between Robert and our company's board members. In the messages, Robert questioned my stability and suitability for leadership. He's been reaching out to your major clients too, David added, his tone furious. Undermining your projects. I confronted Jack again. Dad's just protective of the family reputation, he said with a shrug. Maybe if you tried harder to fit in. Fit in? Like your mother, afraid to breathe without his permission. Don't talk about my family like that, Jack snapped. Our family, Jack. I'm your wife. Then act like it. The chasm between us widened. Jack spent more time at his parents' house while I threw myself into work. But Robert's influence reached everywhere. Clients began pulling out, citing vague leadership concerns. My hands are tied, my boss said in a closed-door meeting. Your father-in-law's been busy. Desperate, I called Sarah. How did you survive this? I sobbed. I didn't, she admitted. Not until I stopped trying to please him. But Sandra, this goes beyond family drama. Tom found evidence that Dad's been using company funds to bribe city officials. He's running a criminal empire. The next weeks were a whirlwind. Tom unearthed more damning documents, transactions linking Robert to shell companies, money laundering, and fraud. I started keeping meticulous records of every interaction, every email, every comment, every suspicious bank transfer. One afternoon, I found Linda alone in the garden, her hands trembling as she tended to the flowers. I should have warned you, she whispered. 40 years of this. He controls everything, my credit cards, my phone, even my mother's nursing home payments. I tried to leave once, back in '95. He threatened to ruin my brother's business. The final blow came when I checked my personal account, the one I had long before marrying Jack. Nearly $50,000 was gone. I gave Dad access, Jack admitted when I confronted him again. He said it was for our future. For the family? I laughed bitterly. Jack, we're not the Rockefellers. We're victims of your father's ego. Everything erupted at the next family dinner. Robert was in the middle of boasting about his latest development project when I cut in. Like how you sacrificed my savings, I said, or Linda's inheritance, or the city contracts you bribed officials for. The room went silent. Robert's face darkened. You ungrateful little. I have proof, I interrupted, meeting his glare. Every transaction, every bribe, every threat. Jack, Robert barked. Control your wife. I turned to Jack, my heart pounding. Please, Jack, look at what he's doing to us. Jack stood slowly. My heart sank. Dad's right, he said. You've changed, Sandra. You're not the woman I married. No, I replied, rising to my feet. I'm stronger than the woman you married, and I'm done. If you walk out that door, Robert growled, you'll have nothing. I'll make sure of it. Actually, Tom said, stepping forward, she has everything. Copies of all the documents, bank records, witness statements. You betray family, Robert sputtered. No, Sarah said coldly. We're protecting family from you. I walked out of the Bennett mansion that night for the last time. Emma and David were waiting outside, my belongings already packed in their car. I filed for divorce this morning, I told them as we drove away. What about all the evidence? Emma asked. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Oh, I have plans for that. Robert wants to play games. Let's play. 6 months later, I sat in my new corner office, sipping coffee as I watched Robert's empire crumble in real time on CNBC. Breaking news. Bennett Real Estate under federal investigation. My marketing skills had come in handy, not for covering up scandals like Robert had hoped, but for rebuilding my career. I started my own consulting firm, focusing on ethical business practices. The irony wasn't lost on me, turning the lessons learned from Robert's corrupt empire into a foundation for integrity. Did you see the news? Sarah called, her voice electric with excitement. Mom finally did it. She filed for divorce. Linda had called me just last week, her voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. You showed me it was possible to start over, she'd said. I hired a lawyer. I'm taking half of everything. My phone buzzed with another text, this time from Jack. Baby, please, Dad's company is falling apart. He's not himself. We need you back. I deleted it without responding. Last I heard, Jack had been fired from 3 jobs after word got out about his role in Daddy's schemes. The evidence Tom and I had uncovered was damning. Fake companies, embezzled funds, and decades of fraud, all exposed. Robert's carefully curated reputation crumbled faster than his bank accounts. "Miss Carson, your 2 o'clock is here," my assistant said, poking her head into my office. "Mrs. Bennett?" I asked. "Miss Linda Matthews now," she corrected with a smile. Linda looked years younger as she stepped into my office. She sat across from me, her posture poised and her eyes bright. "I never thought I'd be starting over at 60, she said. "But here I am. Will you help me sort out my finances?" "Of course," I replied warmly. That's what family does, real family. Later that evening, I joined my family for our weekly dinner. It was nothing like those tense nights at the Bennett mansion. Around the table, Sarah, Tom, Emma, and David raised their glasses. "To karma," Emma toasted, grinning. "To freedom," Linda added, her smile radiant. My phone lit up with a news alert. Bennett Real Estate CEO Robert Bennett faces criminal charges. I glanced outside where the sun was setting, painting the sky in rich hues of orange and pink. My new campaign had launched a rave reviews. My firm was thriving. Next week, I was scheduled to speak at a women's empowerment conference about financial independence and resilience. "You know," Linda said as we strolled to grab dessert, "I wasted 40 years being afraid. You saved me from wasting 40 more." I squeezed her hand, my heart full. Robert had tried to destroy me, but instead he'd made me stronger. He thought family was about control. He never understood that real family is about love. And love, unlike his empire, was something he couldn't corrupt. What would you do if you discovered your spouse was helping their parents steal your savings? Would you try to save the marriage or, like me, recognize the betrayal as too deep to forgive? Share your thoughts in the comments below.